All right, we are officially in open session. So there was no action taken in closed session. Lisa, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Right.
You don't have to.
She's a trooper.
Wait, I think, can I remember? Yeah. Okay. I pledge
Allegiance
To the flag.
To the flag
of the United States.
of the United States of America,
The republic for which it stands, one
nation,
God,
under
indivisible,
with
liberty and
liberty and justice for all.
Once you start, you just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
You can't stop. It's
Don't
like,
pause.
you won't bring up
No
like
pausing.
singing
You're
at
out
a
of
Super
rhythm.
Bowl. You
Yeah.
can hear yourself and you just keep going.
It just keeps, yeah.
So thank you, Lisa. So the first real item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve it as written.
So moved.
A second.
Dan, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? 5-0. Clerk Grist, is there any public comment that you're aware of for open session?
I'm not aware of any. Superintendent Ochoa?
There's none.
Okay, we'll move on. The next item is to approve the consent item. I will entertain an agenda to, a motion to approve the consent item.
I'll make a motion that we approve consent item 10A.
Second.
Go ahead.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none?
We need this.
Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? 5-0. All right, discussion action items, 11A. Approval of the 2019-2020 unaudited actuals. And I guess you are on, Lisa Wiggins.
Education Code Section 42-100 requires that on or before September 15th, the governing board of each school district shall approve an annual statement of all receipts and expenditures of the district for the preceding fiscal year and shall file this statement with the county superintendent of schools. The unaudited actuals are prepared on standardized account code structure forms and submitted once a year. These financials will provide accurate information to the board, public, and auditors as to how the district ended our fiscal year.
I saw Shannon Hansen's, did she help you with this or?
Well, with the presentation or with
No,
the,
with getting it ready.
on pieces of it, yes.
Yeah, that's
I
what
did
I
have
thought.
to,
Okay,
yes.
I just saw her name, I
Yes.
was wondering.
Yes, I did.
Okay, continue on there.
Are we translating or no? Okay. So 2019-20 was definitely an exceptional year, and the activities of the year were certainly not typical.
2019-2020 sinceramente fue un año excepcional.
As the books were closed on 2019-20, we noted a number of areas of budget savings that are one-time in nature.
Cuando cerramos los libros financieros este año nos dimos cuenta de varias. Sorry, I heard something in the background, friend.
It is anticipated that some of these savings will continue as we continue to into the current year with distance learning.
Esperamos que estos cambios que tuvimos en marzo, abril y junio continuarán este año escolar.
However, we expect more typical levels of spending to return once classroom attendance is reinstated.
Pero esperamos que cuando regresen los estudiantes a la escuela, vamos a regresar a gastar el dinero que anteriormente estábamos gastando.
Areas of unanticipated savings occurred in the areas of classroom supplies, substitutes, utilities, field trips, and transportation.
Say it one more time, supplies.
Substitutes.
substitutes,
field trips, utilities, and in transportation.
Pudimos ahorrar dinero acerca de no gastar tanto dinero en las materias, en sustitutos para empleados que no se presentaron a trabajar y utilidades específicamente para las escuelas y paseos para estudiantes.
Some of the financial highlights for 1920. Our actual ADA was 531339, which is continuing, like we've thought, of kind of flat when you compare it to the 1819 ADA of 531488.
Yeah. I'm getting an
Pretty
idea.
close.
I'm getting an idea of how hard it is for our friend who does this stress.
Yes.
We all need to very much appreciate her when
I
she's doing
know.
our next meeting.
She's a professional, Diego.
Sí. Cuando evaluamos la asistencia de los estudiantes, nos dimos cuenta que la asistencia en el 2019-2020 era casi igual a la asistencia en 2018 y 2019.
LCF dollars received during the fiscal year actually came in higher than we had anticipated at 52,994,239.
Fondos bajo control local recibimos 52,999,000 dólares y eso fue más que lo que esperábamos en junio.
Lottery revenue came in at $149 per ADA for unrestricted and $48 per ADA for restricted.
Can you give me those numbers one more time?
149
Per
for
student.
unrestricted per ADA per student and $48 for the restricted portion of lottery.
Fondos de lotería, los cuales vienen por cada alumno, eran más de $197 por cada alumno.
This resulted in approximately $1,218,575 after our 1819 adjustments.
El resultado de estos números fueron que recibimos más de $1,218,000 después de lo que esperábamos en junio.
Except as illustrated on the slide of contributions to restricted programs, all federal and state restricted categorical programs are self-funded. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On the next slide where we talks about our general fund revenues that we get from various sources, I don't want to read all the numbers to you, everybody can see that, but just wanted to touch on a couple of them. One of them being, as I mentioned, general fund revenue, LCFF dollars came in a little bit higher. There actually ended up being a 3.26% COLA at the end of the year. So that
3.26?
3.26.
Wow.
Right. In addition, there were talks about the state, some of those being reduced, like our ACEs or mandated costs. That did not happen. So we did receive those funds as well. The only one that really was, that I saw that changed too much was our local. And I think that was tied to mainly facility use because we did close. So we usually generate quite a bit in our civic permits and facility use of our fields, and also local donations that we often receive for field trips and such. So the local revenues went down a little bit, but the others came in actually much higher than we thought would be the case.
Los fondos recibidos por parte del distrito escolar eran más de lo que esperábamos para casi cada diferente categoría de fondos. Específicamente, ajustes por costo de vida nos llegaron a ser 3.26% en el 19-20 año escolar, y en aquel tiempo, en junio, esperábamos que no iba a haber ningún ajuste por costo de vida, y ese fue un cambio demasiado grande.
And on the next slide on general fund expenditures, Really focusing on the unrestricted, which is what we have a lot of control, obviously our restricted programs, they're tied to specific, there's constraints and requirements for how we use those. This just shows a brief, how much in salaries, benefits, our supplies, materials, and other outgo. The other outgo piece, just to clarify that's what we have in our excess cost tuition to the county office. So that's the difference between the money that we send out for that tuition and our indirect costs that come in from the restricted programs.
En la página en que se refiere de los gastos del Fondo General, vemos que allí la mayoría de los gastos tiene que ver con el salario de los empleados del distrito y con lo que nos cuestan los beneficios para los empleados del distrito.
On the next slide, I just wanted to share where I kind of show the expenses by function, just to show that primarily, I think you can see where instruction and instruction related are primarily where most of our expenses are. Pupil services, again, the one that I noticed a change in primarily was ancillary community. And again, those are our athletics, ASB, those programs that we would assume to see that after we had the school closure. Plant services was a little bit.
En la siguiente hoja que les estoy mostrando los gastos por función, podemos ver que la mayoría de los gastos tienen que ver y están relacionados a la instrucción de los estudiantes y específicamente para servicios estudiantiles.
The only other one I was going to touch on, just plant services, and again, I think that a lot of that was tied to the increase in services that were for operational, custodial, all the cleanings, disinfecting, and things that were going on. So I think that kind of helps to explain that increase in the plant services.
Gastamos más dinero cerca de los servicios de los planteles del distrito escolar y eso tiene que ver con los gastos que tuvimos para limpiar las aulas y las escuelas cuando nos pegó el pandémico COVID.
Contributions to restricted programs. So as you can see, the top one there is the extensions program. That one we did have to make a contribution to.
I'm sorry, what program?
Extensions program.
Okay.
So that was our one that we had for the at Lad Lane and Calaveras. And again, that I think is mainly due to the closure, because when we had looked at it at second interim, it was, with those parent fees coming in, it was kind of, the program was sustaining itself. But then, of course, we closed in March again, so that one's there.
Les estoy mostrando información acerca de las contribuciones a programas restringidos. Específicamente, tuvimos que pagar más para el programa de extensiones y eso fue porque familias no mandaron su dinero para pagar los sueldos de los empleados, pero todavía tuvimos que pagarles a los empleados mientras estuvimos cerrados durante marzo, abril y mayo. Y esos gastos fueron relacionados con el cierre del distrito escolar.
Title I, there's a contribution. I think that has been for the last couple of years, and most likely will continue as we continue to have reductions in that program at the federal level and what those the administrative costs can be charged.
También tuvimos que utilizar fondos para pagar los costos del título 1 y eso tiene que ver con recibir menos dinero del gobierno federal cada año en el aspecto del título 1 y esperamos que cada año vaya siendo igual.
Restricted maintenance account, that one was that contribution we make every year. We are required to make at least a 3% contribution for routine restricted maintenance, but we did go above that this year. And
What's the amount we spent?
$2,119,043. $2,119,000.
También tuvimos que utilizar $2,119,000 a la cuenta de mantenimiento restringida, y eso tiene que ver con el porcentaje, el cual es un requisito para todos los distritos escolares. Este año nosotros utilizamos más fondos que ese 3%,
Yes.
que lo que se requiere el 3%, más o menos va siendo como $1,800,000, pero nosotros guardamos $2,119,000.
And the last contribution made to a restricted program was for special ed, which we know we make every year. It's about the same as it was, and that, unfortunately, we know that special education does not.
What's the amount?
11 million.
Y últimamente también tuvimos que guardar dineros y utilizar dineros para pagar los costos que tienen que ver con educación especial, lo cual van siendo más de $11 millones. Es lo que nos cuesta servicios para estudiantes de educación especial, aparte de los fondos que nos llegan para estos servicios.
Do we have a total amount of what we spend in special education? What we spent last year?
I could get, it breaks specifically by special ed resource on that. I can certainly run that easily for you and send that out from Member Martinez.
Okay, it's nice to know, you know, just tracking that projection of special education. I know we don't nearly get what our children deserve to be getting from the federal government for special education, which is just, I will never understand, but the increments, the increases that a district has to additionally support the program, I know historically in this district it has been climbing and climbing, and it's just nice to know what we spend overall in that, not just what we contribute, but what our cost is in general for the program.
Yes, and these forms aren't specific to the resources, but I can certainly, get that information to you. It is nowhere near enough, you're right, what we get funding.
Right.
Right. So I'd be happy to run that this evening and get that total over for all of you.
Is there a resource code for special ed?
6,500.
I have the number here.
Okay, for expenditures?
12.933.
Okay.
It's on page 85 of your document. I knew it was in here. I needed you guys to so I could find it.
Okay.
Miembra Elizabeth Martínez tuvo una pregunta acerca de qué es lo que estamos pagando cada año, qué es lo que nos cuesta, lo que nos cuestan los servicios para estudiantes de educación especial. Y en el reporte que tenemos, que todos los padres que están viendo en YouTube pueden revisar hoja 85, y ahí donde dice recurso 6,500, van a ver un número al lado que dice 12,933,000 Eso es lo que nos cuestan los servicios para educación especial en el distrito.
And then the last page just goes over, you can see, it's just a summary of our beginning fund balances for unrestricted, restricted, and combined, showing revenues, expenditures. You can see with restricted is the biggest, bigger, where we have the deficit spending. Although both did this year have a negative reduction to the ending fund balance. So we're ending the ending fund balance in unrestricted of $6,696,000. Restricted $1,104,000 for a total ending fund balance of $7,710,428.
El reporte indica que el saldo final del fondo restringido son $7,710,000 para el año escolar 2019-2020.
There.
So, well, does anybody else have any questions?
Well, I guess shocked at the amount of money we've had coming in. I just didn't think we were going to have that much more money coming in
Right.
that we got. That,
I don't think that anybody, I mean,
El miembro Kane quiere mencionar que está sorprendido de la cantidad de los fondos que nos llegaron.
yes, I know at time of budget development for everybody, I think what we were hearing from the state, I mean, it was, we were thinking 49,
I can't
48,
believe the
maybe
difference.
49 million,
Yeah.
and it's, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, everybody is kind of having the same.
Yo pienso que,
Reaction.
yo pienso que todos los distritos escolares tuvieron en el momento del desarrollo del presupuesto, esperaron mucho menos fondos y estamos todos sorprendidos de la cantidad de los fondos que nos han llegado.
I think I'm really happy to hear that it's not as bad as we expected. And
Right,
so I think I want to give credit to, of course, our superintendent and everyone who helped with the budget during those times when COVID hit. And then I do have, are you going to translate, Diego? No, that's my question.
Y miembra Torres de Luna quiere mencionar que está feliz saber que no es tan malo como pensábamos que iba a ser. Quiere dar crédito a nuestros empleados que tenían que ver con el presupuesto del distrito, específicamente el superintendente.
And then the question is so, I'm not really good with all the numbers, but I'm looking at the numbers being presented today. And is there any wiggle room with potentially looking at, for our electronic or technology support, or is that a different conversation?
Entonces, miembra Torres de Luna tiene una pregunta que si hay algún margen de maniobra potencialmente en lo que se refiere a la tecnología que tenemos para los estudiantes del distrito. And I'll take this one. So the district is actually in receipt of a very large amount of money. The money is in the multiple millions of dollars. It is specifically for responding to the situation we're currently in.
Where did it come from?
This is federal money.
Federal money, so it did come through.
Well, we're in receipt of the amount, but we're not in receipt of any
Fund.
money. So there is no money. Let me say that. We've been promised a lot.
Yes.
We've been told how to spend it. We've been told to support it, but we haven't received anything. And by the way, they want us to spend it within the next 90 days. So let me
Are
translate.
is that money in these 20,
No.
2021?
2021 budget.
So let me translate. So yo quiero tomar esta oportunidad para explicar que el distrito tiene ya informe que vamos a recibir millones de dólares para responder a la situación que tenemos ahorita en el aspecto de implementar aprendizaje a distancia. Y nos han dicho cuánto dinero vamos a recibir, nos han dicho cómo lo tenemos que utilizar y nos han dicho todo cómo lo tenemos que reportar, pero no nos ha llegado ni un centavo hasta ahorita. So, myself, our Director of Technology, our Director of Fiscal Services, we're all already done purchasing the technology that we're going to receive. But as you know, every school district in the country is ordering these devices. So We expect to receive 1,700 new devices in the next 30 days. And we expect to receive a separate 1,000 new devices in the next 60 days. And then in the spring, we expect to receive a separate 1,000 devices. So by the time spring break rolls around, every single computer in the district will be less than 2 years old. We will have retired all the old computers, but here's the thing. So let me translate. Nosotros, yo, la directora de servicios financieros, el director de tecnología, tenemos ya desde semanas, tenemos ya ordenando más de 1,700 computadoras que nos van a recibir, vamos a recibir entre estos siguientes 30 días. Después de eso vamos a recibir otro 1,000 computadoras que nos van a llegar entre 60 días y luego antes de que llegue voy a decir marzo, antes de marzo esperamos recibir otro 1,000 diferentes computadoras. Y el significado de eso es de que para empezar el año nuevo, el siguiente año escolar, no vamos a tener computadoras que tienen más de 2 años en uso en el distrito. Y ahorita tenemos más de 1,000 computadoras que tienen 7 años de uso. So, to give you an idea, right now we have over 1,000 devices that are 7 years old, out right now. So that's not optimal because those computers have more problems. So when we refresh the district's technology, we'll see a major change.
Yes, and so those funds are on the way. Starting from today through September 30th, we should receive everything by.
Those funds are coming from the federal government, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we going to do with those funds when they come in? We're not spending, is that what we're spending this on?
Esos fondos van a venir de parte del gobierno federal, pero quiero saber cómo vamos a utilizar esos fondos. So there are a variety of ways that we're going to spend them. One, we're going to spend them to provide distance learning. As you know, the district has launched the RISE Academy. That has curriculum and staffing and support, and the funds will help offset the cost of the RISE program. Second, we'll spend more than $1.5 million on devices.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Third, we'll spend an extra, because remember the board authorized Wi-Fi hotspots.
Yes.
1,000 Wi-Fi hotspots. We expect to buy another 200 Wi-Fi hotspots to meet the need. In addition, what we're learning is that teachers really want to have what's called an Almo or a document camera attached to their computer when they're teaching.
Yeah.
So we need to purchase an additional 250 document cameras. Each one of those is $600. So
Oh, wow.
they cost more than our Chromebooks.
They're worth it though.
They're worth it.
They're worth it.
And I'm with you. But so in addition to that, we have put in an order for over $500,000 of protective personal equipment. So hand sanitizer, hand soap, face coverings, hand sanitizer stands, backpack sprayers, backpack disinfectant. I mean, it's just a variety of different things, and I would be happy to provide the board with a report either in October or November. So now let me try to remember everything I said and translate. Vamos a utilizar los fondos específicamente para continuar con el programa de RISE. Es un programa nuevo que implementamos este año y tenemos fondos que vamos a utilizar para pagar para la instrucción y para las materias sobre la red que tienen que ver con RISE. Aparte de eso, vamos a utilizar más de $1.5 millones para tecnología nueva. Vamos a comprar 200 más Wi-Fi hotspots. Vamos a comprar 250 más cámaras de documentos, los cuales van costando $600. Y los maestros en el distrito escolar nos han mencionado la importancia de tener una de esas en su casa cuando están enseñando por parte de la red.
Lisa, what is the appropriate measurement of reserves as a percent of revenues, and what is that calculation? And what are our reserves as a percent?
So overall, our reserve, so we are required to have the 3%, which is what you'll see on there that I set aside.
Right,
And
that's that
3% of the expenditures, right? So of the combined expenditures.
Okay.
Let me just translate his question. So, Presidente Bernowski está preguntando cuál es la medición adecuada de las reservas frente a los ingresos.
So what is the percentage now, and what is it projected to be at the end of 2021?
So right now, it's currently at 11.5% is what we're ending for 1920. We have not, looked so much into 2021. I can put that real.
You know what? We could guess, but we'd be wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to throw that number out here in this area.
So what the board, directora de servicios fiscales, Lisa Wiggins respondió que el porcentaje de las reservas es 11.5 para terminar el año escolar de 19-20.
Okay, so we don't know what they're projected to be as a.
Because for tonight, it was more just to report on what 1920 is, and then we'll look at 2021.
Well, so here's the problem.
Esta noche se enfoca en reportar qué fue lo que sucedió en 19-20, no en 2021.
So a fundamental axiom of reviewing financial statements is being able to compare previous financial statements to the ones that you're presenting so that we can see anomalies. And plus there's the very basics of a school district and how the world views school districts. So I know a lot of work went into this, but without that comparison and without those key measurements like reserves as a percent, it's almost meaningless to me, which I don't want it to be. And you did present 2021 budget figures here, so of course I'm going to look at them. You can't say, well, don't look at those, that's not the purpose of it, because I think we're obligated to, because I'm just confused on, well, what I'm looking at here, because I think what you're showing, and again, I shouldn't say you, but the district is showing, is despite everything that's going on, we actually end up with more cash at the end of 2021 than we have right now. Is that the total reserves? Am I looking at that right?
So you
We
end
go
up
like
at the
7 to
2021
10.
budget,
Rob,
you're looking at 7.
Let me translate. So, la axioma fundamental es poder elaborar informes anteriores a los actuales. Sé que mucho trabajo fue puesto en esto, pero yo pienso que casi no tiene sentido si no puedo comparar los fondos de este año a los fondos del año anterior o al año siguiente. Y estoy confundido porque, do you have a page number, Mr. Bernowski?
26.
26, porque los fondos en la página 26 parece que esperamos tener fondos adicionales en el 2021 a lo que tenemos hoy.
So you can see that, yes, that is what it's showing, and a lot of that will be, as we did at budget development, there were reductions that were made for 2021 budget. There was also discussions that we had on cutting back on some of the contracted services and supplies that had been being spent. So 1920 is showing everything that was already in place contracts that were in place, things that we were doing for 1920. 2021, we had discussed, looking at those more closely, cutting back some of those larger contracted amounts, the supplies that were not maybe necessary to buy. So, I would hope that our 2021 ending balance cash would end up higher than this year's 1920.
So what you're saying.
Well, let him do his magic.
Yeah, so,
I just want to make sure.
so, estás correcto en el aspecto de que estás revisando y estás viendo que los fondos al terminar este año escolar van siendo 7,710,000 dólares. Y los actuales de los fondos en el 2021 se refieren al tiempo en el cual nosotros reducimos y rebajamos el uso de nuestros fondos porque esperábamos recibir menos dinero. So, if I can share a perspective. So what you're looking at is you're looking at an accounting of what we spent in 1920. But when we developed the 2021 budget, lo que ustedes están revisando va siendo una cuenta de lo que se utilizó en el 19-20. Y cuando nosotros desarrollamos los recursos para 2021, we were under the impression that we would be getting substantially less money. We were being told to budget for 10% less, which in our district is $6 million. So en aquel tiempo esperábamos que los fondos que nos iban a llegar este año iban a ser más de $6 millones menos de lo que recibimos últimamente. And so we made reductions. We made cuts to substantial programs. We made cuts, as you know, the board approved reductions in staffing. I made a commitment to the board to basically refine expenditures. One simple example is we saved $300,000 by reducing school and department budgets. We just basically told department heads and school principals, you have 40% less money next year. So if you got $20,000, next year you're not getting $20,000. You're getting 40% less than $20,000. And so that's where some of these savings are coming from.
So what you're saying then essentially is, number one, we got way more money than we thought we were going to get it. Again, that COLA, just unbelievable.
Right.
To go from that was more than what they were going to give us to begin
Right,
with.
I had only, in June, we were only hearing what, maybe two.
Yeah,
In June and
so
May,
that
initially.
stunned me. But this makes sense also, if you've made these cutbacks, so that explains a lot of this additional monies that we have.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
again,
what I'm looking at is, so
instead of the 7 million nearly.
there's a 6% drop in revenues projected for next year. But outgo expenditures go down 11.6%. But what is defying logic to me, it just seems like every meeting we have, we're just spending money and we're buying more of this, we're buying more of that. And fundamentally, I mean, field trips don't add that much to the budget and things like that. I'm just going, intellectually, it just doesn't make sense to me, except you're saying, well, revenues are only dropping 5.9%. So I just hope that they're right, because when I sit here and I'm just saying spend,
When we built the budget, I'm looking at our June 23rd budget. Cuando nosotros desarrollamos los recursos para este año, el plan de recursos para este año, nosotros esperamos recibir $56,309,000. When we built the budget, this board approved a budget that had $56,309,000. If you look at the number that's being reported tonight, it's $63,117,000.
And that doesn't include the federal money, that's just money we have.
That's correct.
That's correct.
The point I'm making is
our revenues will.
When we built the budget you all approved in June, I advised the board, and I'm glad that I did so, to prepare for a worst case scenario.
Yeah, it wasn't the
Because
worst case.
We've all watched the politics go up and down, and we are somewhat lucky to have had the kind of dominoes that have fell our way. And so as a result, when we built the budget, we had the planned revenues of 56,309,000, and we had the planned expenditures of 58 million. And now our expenditures have come up because we've had more expenditures that we've had to plan for, the things that you're talking about, Mr. Bernosky, but our revenues have gone up tremendously. So from budget development to today, our planned expenditures have gone up more than $1.5 million, but our revenues have gone up $6.5 million. And that accounts for the increase in the annual.
Okay, so number one, in the future, that's the kind of things I would like to see in the highlights, because I don't want to have to sit here and decipher it. You have to look at it from our perspective and say, well, what has changed? Because just looking at like your PowerPoint presentation you sent today, just looking at this year in isolation, at least for me, it doesn't do any good. I need to see that comparative stuff, because the thing that, again, we're opening up a new school, and yet we still end up with more cash at the end of 2021. I mean, again, forgive me, it defies logic to me. And then having the reserves presented on a graph that shows, what the, 10-year history is, or 6-year, whatever is relevant, would be important to me, because
Let me share one other perspective. What our district has done, aside from making smart and prudent decisions, is we have taken a lot of actions that require a lot of work on our part, and I'll just use the example of FEMA, okay? Lisa and Lisa, have we put in 30 hours each, maybe 40 hours each?
Right. Yeah.
Conservatively. But at the same time, we are on the cusp of getting 75% reduction of $500,000 worth of expenses. But they have not made it easy.
No.
And I think a lot of school districts just basically give up because they make you jump through 100 hoops. And I'm just giving you that one example because there are many examples like that, where we find out about something and we act on it and we move on it, and it ends up being a savings. And we have, because of in my opinion, the excellence of our HR department and our financial services department, we have basically effectively staffed the district. So we don't have, we created the RISE program, but it didn't cause us to overspend because we were able to reformat classes in a way that makes the program cost us less. But it takes a lot of know-how, and it takes a lot of
Work.
smart decision making. And that, those are details that are somewhat, you're never going to see that in here, but I think what President Bernosky points out correctly is we want to create a presentation that highlights the things that this board wants us to highlight, because we can absolutely do that.
yeah.
And just like that too with the FEMA example, that's another thing that, of course, we haven't built that into there because we want to make sure what we're actually, we want to see know that it's coming.
To me, the shocking thing, and I've been doing this a long time with the COLA, I have never seen the state do what they've done here. To say it was going to be this, and then to actually do, that's not even close.
Yeah,
I've never, well, maybe it's COVID, I don't know what it is, but believe me, that's never, ever happened before. That's why I'm stunned.
Right.
I am literally stunned by what happened here.
Yeah, my last ask is always think about if you're writing a newspaper article about this and what the public needs to know. because we're no different. I mean, we might get into a little bit of the details, do the nuances we know, but if somebody were to ask me, so tell me about the financials, because I literally came here expecting doom and gloom. Um, and it isn't, it just defies logic to me because, I mean, well, we're buying another 1,000 Chromebooks and then another 1,000, and then we're buying more Wi-Fi, and then we know that we're opening up a school, and I mean, I get it, there's special monies for that.
Yeah, and I've mentioned it, but I'll tell you what I believe the amount's gonna end up being. I believe they're gonna give us $4.1 million is what they're gonna give us, and that is going to go a long way. And we are going to stretch that out as far as we can. And the only complaint I would have is I would have liked to have had it in June so we could have been ready for the school year. If they had given us those funds in June, it would have been the easiest, smoothest process. But you know, I'm happy to get it, but I would have liked it 4 months ago.
Well, and then,
But those funds,
Jan's got her hand
oh,
up.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jan.
Well, do you want to translate a little bit before I start,
Yeah,
Diego?
lost track there. I'm going to do a summary of the last couple of minutes. Los miembros de la mesa directiva, específicamente el presidente Bernowski, están pidiendo que la directora de servicios financieros en el futuro haga presentaciones que dan diferentes muestras de la diferencia en los recursos que nos llegan y en los fondos que utilizamos para los estudiantes. Y estuvimos discutiendo las decisiones que han tomado el distrito escolar en estos 6 meses anteriores. Un ejemplo fue el ejemplo de el manejamiento de emergencias federales, recursos que el distrito escolar de Hollister está listo para recibir un descuento de 75% en costos de más de $500,000. Y cuando el distrito tiene planeado implementar un programa, los directores y el superintendente del distrito escolar se aseguran de implementar decisiones que van ahorrando dinero para el distrito escolar. Jan? And I'll translate for you better than I can.
Okay. One of the things about our school district, and this happens with our unaudited actuals, and Rob, I'm going to put my old union hat on. We looked at the unaudited actuals as, how much cash does the district have? And this is what we would base all bargaining on, not on budgets. And if I'm right, and I'll ask Diego, isn't this 11.5% reserve similar to the reserve that we started with last year?
Let me translate for you, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Una de las cosas de nuestro distrito escolar es que esto sucede con nuestros datos reales y no auditados. Nosotros, siendo miembros de la unión, anteriormente mirábamos cómo y cuánto tenía el distrito escolar cuando daban este reporte. Eso fue la manera en que nosotros sabíamos que el distrito tenía cierto dinero. Y quiero saber por parte del superintendente Ochoa que si este 11.5 no es parecido a lo que teníamos para empezar el año escolar. So our last year's ending fund balance was 12.8%. So
Okay, so it's about 1% down.
el porcentaje del distrito.
But we achieved this ending balance because we made dramatic cuts. And we made dramatic shifts in how we are structuring the district office. We made dramatic cuts in how we position schools. And then we were absolutely lucky in how the state decided to end up balancing us. I don't think this year would have been close to the same if those things had not happened. But what I guess I'm trying to say is that it took the leadership of our superintendent, and it was, and I'd like to say the leadership of our legislature in Sacramento to put children first, because they went, you know, they fought for our kids to make sure that they were given the monies that they needed. And I think that this represents that it gives us the opportunity to now do what we need to do to make sure that we spend the proper amount that we can to help our kids through this very difficult year.
Logramos este saldo final de fondos porque hicimos recortes drásticos, hicimos recortes en la forma en que organizamos las escuelas. Tuvimos obviamente suerte de que el estado de California nos proporcionó fondos adicionales. Se necesitó el liderazgo de nuestro superintendente y de nuestra legislatura en Sacramento porque ellos lucharon por nuestros estudiantes y ahora tenemos la responsabilidad de utilizar los fondos que nos van a llegar este año para asegurarnos que nuestros estudiantes pueden aprender.
That's all I have to say.
So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2019-2020 unaudited actuals.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 20, I'm sorry, Rob, what do we call it? The
2019-2020 unaudited actuals.
2019-2020 unaudited actuals.
En este momento entretendré una moción para aprobar los el reporte 19-20 de datos reales no auditados y la miembro Chris está haciendo esa moción.
I'll second that.
Miembro Kane está haciendo la moción segundamente.
Is there any discussion?
¿Hay discusión?
Somebody's calling you.
Jan, was that a hand raised?
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing that I would like to say, what a great job that Lisa has done. And I really appreciate her handout that we had, that I was able to print out at home. And thank you very much. It was very well done and easy to follow.
Quiero reconocer el trabajo que hizo Lisa Wiggins, el reporte que les llegó, que muestra la información pertinente, era fácil para seguir y quiere reconocer el trabajo de Lisa.
And I would like to say that I concur with Rob. Reporting it would be a lot easier for me as well. I mean, I'm used to going over this, but it would save a lot of time.
No problem.
Yeah, and if it's okay with Diego, well, I'll communicate with him, but there's one particular table that I'm looking for that allowed previous boards to pick up on the fact that developer fees, something was wrong with those, and that there was the 1.1 million. I know the table I'm thinking of, that's in one of my binders at home, but that would be at least very helpful to me to help find the anomalies if there are. So, and by the way, this is not an indictment of you.
No, that's great. This is good to know what you want to see and how you want it presented. That saves me,
Yeah, it's just, I believe that government accounting, and especially school district accounting, is the trickiest in the world. I'm telling you, your job is harder than mine in the private sector.
It
'Cause
is
I
very
push a
different.
button.
School accounting is different, yes.
So,
Thank you.
but those
Yeah,
little
for
tricks will
sure.
help. Any other discussion?
El miembro Bernatsky quiere mencionar que las tarifas de desarrolladores sería importante recibir esa información en este reporte. Está pensando en una tabla que él tiene en un reporte anterior que nos va a mostrar para que lo hagamos en el futuro. Quiere mencionar que esto no es una acusación contra Lisa y piensa el presidente Bernatsky que la contabilidad del gobierno es uno de los trabajos más difíciles que hay en esta carrera.
Before we take the vote, did we lose Carla?
Antes de votar, sí, it is back to school night for Hollister Dual Language.
Okay.
So she's playing parent.
I remember these would be 5-0, right? I'm so tempted to ask if anybody will tell me something. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 11B, the GAN limit, Lisa.
Yes, another exciting school business.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this is for all school agencies. So this calculation is just showing that per the GAN limit that was set in November of 1979, each year there's a limit on the growth in government spending to be no faster than the growth in population and inflation. So population is calculated by our ADA, which stayed flat, and inflation is currently about 1.5% this year. So in these SAPS forms, and that's the calculation that's attached, it's just the calculation done to show that we did not exceed that spending, that GAN limit. You can see that on, I believe it's page 100 for you, and the number 10 area where there's $0. That's just saying that we've met our limit. Had we not, you have to translate.
I want to translate. Sí, el límite de GAN se presentó en el 1979. En ese tiempo implementaron este límite para que asegurarse que haya un límite en el gasto público frente al crecimiento de la población.
Basically what this allows is the state to determine the state aid that it's paying. So if for some reason we were to go over, then we would have to pass a resolution, send a letter to them letting them know, and then they would have to make up, reduce their funding for that. I have not seen that happen since I've been here. I don't know if it happens much, but this is just to let you know that we met that limit this year.
Okay.
And to please approve that.
Básicamente, esta resolución permite al Estado determinar la cantidad de fondos que deben a distritos escolares y esto permitirá al Estado resubir su financiación, pero en su carrera nunca ha visto que sucede eso.
So let's entertain a motion, because this is a resolution that, Jan, you're going to have to sign.
Yeah, I'll come in tomorrow and sign.
Okay, if we pass it. So I'll entertain a motion, if you could name the resolution by number.
I move that we,
Entretengamos un movimiento y el miembro que
I move that we adopt the resolution adopting the GAN limit, the resolution 620-21.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? 4-0.
Okay, yeah, I hope there's any
I told you this would be easier than
I'll let you know if I feel you say
your root canal.
Okay.
Nothing to worry
All
about.
right, no problem, I'll let you know.
Congratulations. A couple of scars, a couple of scrapes, but besides that,
Yeah, just have to
you're
learn.
It's been worse than the first.
Hey, when board president Bernatsky said he came expecting horrible news.
Boom and doom.
And actually, Lisa and I had to run the numbers a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because I said, no,
That's
let's go
different.
back.
Oh,
Okay, thank you, thanks for the call.
Last Monday,
Okay,
we're running it again, but looking at the second time, and then I said,
Get the money
let's
all
give
of
it
a
another
sudden.
day. I'll come back.
Any announcements other than the next meeting of the Board of Trustees is a regular meeting at on September 22nd?
Six, closed
That's
session at LA.
next week.
Yes.
Anuncios, la siguiente junta regular del distrito, de la mesa directiva del distrito escolar de Hollister va siendo el 22 de septiembre.
Madam Clerk Grist, do you have any announcements?
No, I don't.
Trustee Liz Martinez, any announcements?
Just that I appreciate Superintendent Diego for giving us the opportunity to go out and see firsthand all the hard work that our custodians, our maintenance, and our grounds are making tremendous headway in beautifying our schools, getting them ready, for when we're ready to open. Our kids are welcome back to beautiful, shiny environments, and excited to be there. So I want to thank every single person who is dedicating so much of their time right now to ensure that we are taking the opportunities given to us in this situation. We've never had the time to touch bases on a lot of things that have been needed for so long.
Yeah.
And so I just commend, Superintendent Ochoa for, just jumping on the opportunity and for our classified to step up when we've needed them the most. So
Mhm.
I am proud and honored to be a part of this district.
Well, I echo what Liz said. The tour of the few properties was phenomenal. It's so much different than it was 2 years ago. And by the way, Diego Ochoa did say that school board members would be able to take rides on the new riding mower. Schedule it.
Everybody off the field, everybody off the field.
I had a chance to go out with Diego to a couple of schools and saw exactly what you're talking about. And I couldn't help but think how much the kids are going to appreciate when they finally come back to the school. They'll be able to see their schools, how much different it's going to look, the facilities. I also got a chance to talk to some administrators and teachers who were on break about how the distance learning was going, and it was very informative. I was happy to have a chance to talk to them about that.
All right, thank you. Any other announcements?
Jan, did you want to say anything?
I was just wondering if we could get some pictures, maybe that we could have a picture presentation at a board meeting to see how the schools have been jazzed up so that the public could see. Maybe Aaron could make a presentation and maybe have some pictures of some of our guys and what they've done, but to show the community what our maintenance staff has done during this time, so that they know that everybody in our district has been working during this period for the betterment of our children and of our students, and for the taxpayers, that we are working hard to preserve our schools and to get them into top-notch shape. And that takes the time and talent of our maintenance department. And I think they should be recognized at a board meeting with pictures and pictures of the men that have been doing it.
I agree, Jan. I agree. You know, all of our classified, you know, people are stepping out of their comfort zone and doing, you know,
They need to be recognized.
stepping up into roles that you
Nobody
would
thought they
never
would
have
do.
ever think that people are doing, you know.
And they're
Checking in on our kids to make sure that they're doing okay. Phone calls, you know.
Hey, let's save it for an
No.
agendized item.
Yeah.
I know. But I would like to see that as a board meeting
Right.
item, as an agenda item, the maintenance department being focused on with pictures of what they've done and pictures of the men who have done it, you know, something maybe at each site where we show things that they've done and pictures of the men so they can be honored. If that's possible, please.
Any other announcements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:45.
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night.
Diego, October 9th, school golf tournament.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay?